Hi, everyone. I'm Sylvia with Rally Recruitment Marketing, and I want to welcome all of you to our webinar on recruiting Gen Z, creating content for a new generation. Today's webinar is being sponsored by Scholars, and I just want to thank them for their partnership and helping to support the Rally Recruitment Marketing community and helping us to bring great webinars and other resources like these to you. Okay, super brief. So let me introduce today's speakers. So with me today are Gabby Woody, who is the University Relations and Diversity Lead at Intuit, and Ben Siegel, who is the co-founder of Scholars. Hi, Gabby and Ben.
Hello.
Hi, Lori.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We've had a lot of interest in this topic. I think there are a lot of folks who are joining in to today's webinar to hear all of your expertise on really recruiting the next generation of talent. So why don't we start out with some introductions? Gabby, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about Intuit. Probably many of us know who Intuit is, but tell us a little bit about recruiting at Intuit and also your role. And then after that, it'd be great, Ben, if you could introduce yourself and Scholars.
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Gabby Woody. If you are looking for me on LinkedIn or whatnot, Gabrielle Woody, as you can see on this slide. I've been at Intuit a little over 5.5 years now, always in the university recruiting team. Right now, I specifically focus on our core school partnerships and diversity recruiting. As you can see in the pictures, we have our virtual intern program from last year. We sent them Empowered to Be light boxes so that they could leverage that on social media and post on their Instagram and LinkedIn or whatnot. A little bit about Intuit. So on the left, that is our headquarters in Mountain View, California. We are the makers of TurboTax, QuickBooks, Mint, ProConnect, and we just fully acquired Credit Karma. So financial tech, but we recruit for majority of the tech and non-tech functions.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. All right, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself and also Scholars.
Yeah, my name is Ben Siegel. I started Scholars, I guess, almost 1.5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, with my college roommate and then another friend from college, basically because we felt like companies could do a way better job providing better candidate experiences for us and other college students like us and new grads. So we built some technology platforms to help them do that. And I'm also, I learned this when we were putting together this deck, I'm officially part of Gen Z. I'm the oldest member of Gen Z probably, so happy to be here and hopefully can give some good insight on this audience for you.
Fantastic. All right, so let me also share with you about Rally. So some of you might be new to the Rally Recruitment Marketing community. We're an online community of HR, talent acquisition, marketing, communications professionals. And the thing that we all have in common is we're trying to learn these new marketing and branding strategies to help us attract and recruit talent better and more effectively through social and digital channels. So you probably saw about this webinar on our main website, which is rallyrecruitmentmarketing.com. We've got a ton of resources there. They're all free. And we also have a virtual conference, which we do twice a year in May and December. We just wrapped up our May event, which was really awesome. Maybe some of you guys attended that. So thank you. And we have our next one coming up on December 8th. So you can visit rallyforward.com to learn more about our virtual event. So that's a little bit about Rally, and we put together webinars like these usually once or twice a month. So in this webinar today, here's what you're going to learn. We're going to talk through what Gen Z talent is looking for when deciding where to apply for jobs and also internships, what online platforms they're using to discover employers and career opportunities, and what content works best to get their attention. How you can get buy-in from your leadership and your team to try these newer platforms and content strategies. And also we're going to show you guys some best practice examples for podcasts, videos, employee generated content, and more. So hopefully that's what you were hoping to find out today. And that is what our two awesome speakers are going to cover. Also, I just want to say, if you have any questions for Ben and for Gabby, you can use the Zoom Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. So you'll see there's a chat. Chat is there in case you guys need any support. Aaron from the Rally team is there to help you with any logistics during today's webinar. But if you can, so direct your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll be looking for your questions throughout the webinar, okay? Great. So let's dive into Gen Z. So I just want to start out by thinking about this new generation really as a talent audience. I think as marketers, we're always trying to bring marketing best practices to the Rally recruitment marketing community. And so one of the ways we can think about this is as an audience, as a target audience. So, so Ben, why don't you start us out by telling us a little bit more about the Gen Z audience? I know it's hard to make these like big sweeping, statements about millions of people, but give us a picture, help us, bring us into the mindset of Gen Z and what they're looking for as job seekers.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, I mean, definitely a pretty broad group of people. I mean, myself, who's 24, all the way down to, people who are 9 and 10 years old right now. So there's, a pretty wide range of people that you're dealing with. But I think the most interesting part about us as a group is we're really just like, we grew up online. We're the first full digital natives. We've had smartphones since I was in, I think 4th grade is when the iPhone came out. And so my whole life I've spent on, my phone, social media, and that's kind of caused us to just become really analytical. And I think making us seek out like authentic and real content. We just see so much online that's very clearly fake. And I think we've become kind of tired of it, honestly. And so right now we're just, really searching for more realistic, just conversational, casual, genuine content online. And we're really good at sniffing out, the BS and when it's not that. And so I think that comes from just, like I said, growing up with a smartphone and having access to that for our whole lives. Yeah, and so just kind of continuing on that, like I said, I mean, basically everybody in this audience is on their phone all day. You can see kind of the older range of Gen Z, 16 to 20, almost half of them are saying that they're, using the internet almost constantly. And so I guess in kind of the context of this conversation, that's got its pros and cons. From, on the good side of that is that they're on the internet, on social media all day. So they're probably going to see the content that you and your company are putting out at some point. But the bad news is they're seeing thousands of pieces of content a day. And so in order to kind of catch their attention, brands and companies and creators are forced to just be, overly engaging and thoughtful about what they're putting out. So that when I'm scrolling through my feeds on whatever platform it might be, you're going to catch my eye and I'm going to stop. And so hopefully, I guess what we'll talk about here today is how to kind of get us to stop scrolling through our feeds and look at your content specifically. And so, yeah, just last piece of that, I mean, from like a decision-making perspective, we're really, leaning on our friends and family and influencers to kind of help us decide what we do throughout our entire lives, both as, kind of consumers, the products that we're going to buy. And I think that behavior, which started, through, I guess, ads on Facebook and Instagram, have now kind of translated over into how we make decisions about the internships and the jobs that we want to get. And so, like I said, I mean, the biggest factor in those decisions is coming from the people we trust most, whether that's friends and family or people who we feel like we trust because we see them online all the time, which might sound weird, but it's true. And so that's kind of how we're making decisions. And then I think from like a job and a company perspective, what Gen Z is looking for, as a holistic group, is just careers that have that security and stability. A lot of people, had internships and jobs a year ago that were taken away from them when the pandemic happened. And, if that didn't happen to them, they probably had friends or at least, knew people who went through that experience. And so I think coming out of that and coming out of the pandemic, there's been a real shift into, looking for jobs and companies specifically that are going to be there for them, through, good times and bad. If something hopefully like this never happens again in our lifetime, but if it does, that's kind of what they're pretty anxious about right now.
That point that you made, Ben, about looking for security and stability, I mean, I think that probably goes across all generations. Everyone is looking for that. That was also one of the key messages that we saw a lot of recruitment marketers start to use last year during the pandemic. So I agree. I think it's going to continue this year. So it's good to know that that this is something we need to continue to highlight as we communicate the value of working for our company and also the career opportunities that we provide. So fantastic. So one of the things I wanted to recommend before we look next at what platforms Gen Zers are using is, again, bringing a marketing perspective to thinking about this as a talent audience. One of the things that we like to recommend in the Rally community is to create candidate personas. So there is a free template on rallyrecruitmentmarketing.com for how to create candidate personas. Again, be careful, like you're not making these broad sweeping assumptions, but the way to do it is through conversations. So recent hires that you've made, people who are in your internship program, even potential candidates who you're considering for roles, or maybe those silver medalists. So consider creating a candidate persona definition for this talent audience. All right, so let's look now at what platforms are.
Hey, real quick, there's a question that I think we can answer now that just came through.
Yeah, perfect.
I think Gabby would be probably helpful to hear from you. I mean, my answer to the question is, how do you rebuild your image after having to lay off a bunch of people during COVID, and you're trying to attract Gen Z now? I don't know if you guys had to do that at Intuit, and my take would be just to be super open and honest about what you had to do. I mean, everybody struggled during the pandemic and had to do tough things and make tough decisions. And so just like not trying to beat around the bush and just being super open about what you had to do and where the company's going. This generation of people just, like I said, wants that authenticity, and being genuine about, the tough situation would be probably the best thing to do.
I would agree with that. I feel like transparency is all that Gen Z is looking for, and showing what you're going to do moving forward. That's really all they're asking for. And a lot of companies were in that boat. So I think there's a little bit of more understanding from the pandemic sense.
Okay, great. Yeah, so keep putting your questions there, and we will pause, the content that we have prepared for you today to make sure that we're answering your questions. And also, if this is your first Rally webinar, there's no like question that you can't ask. Okay, so we've got these two experts here. They're not only from this talent audience themselves, but they, in their professions, focus on how do you attract and recruit Gen Zers. So as professionals, they've got a lot of experience here to share with you guys. All right, so again, thinking about this from a marketing perspective, what are the channels that we need to be using in order to reach this talent audience? So let's look at the platforms, and it'd be great, Gabby and Ben, if maybe you guys could tag team on this. I know you have your top picks of what channels are important to reach Gen Z. So let's start with the first one for Instagram.
Sure. So Instagram is one of my favorite platforms. On the left, you actually see one of our interns from Intuit taking over our social media. Instagram, in the name, says Insta, which it means instant, in the moment. And so you want to post raw footage. And that's exactly what Kayla is doing here, showing her day in the life, what our campus looks like. Even virtually, we've had our interns take over our social media for our intern summit, which is basically like a 2-day conference for our interns, and show what some of their training's been like. So you could do a variety of things, as well as posting on stories. There's an ability to do questions, polls, and quizzes. And those interactive features can actually help you figure out what type of content those students want to see. So you could ask, do you want to learn more about interviewing or tech talks or whatnot, and see who has the most responses. You could do live streaming, and you can actually now have multiple people on the platform doing the live. So you could have multiple employees on the live stream answering people's questions. And I think, as Ben was talking about, the genuine and being transparent, since Instagram is in the moment, it seems that you are being more genuine and transparent because nothing is staged. It's all live in the moment. And some on the far right are some brands and creators that you should check out to give you some more ideas, who we feel have been pioneers for branding on Instagram. And that would be BuzzFeed, Now This, Food 52, Inside Amazon.
Awesome. And Gabby, there was a question that came in, I think, following on to the last question that we had, Ben, about the security and stability. So when you're recruiting talent, and when you make those initial hires, like, how long do you think they're planning to stay with Intuit? Do you have an average of, is it like they're looking for a job for 30 years, or they're looking for a job for 5 years?
That's a tough question. Because of the pandemic, and now there's a lot more job opportunities happening, I feel that there's a little more hopping around happening in this moment. But traditionally, I am seeing the 2 to 5 year mark. But I did answer a Q&A recently from Monster, and a large percentage of the questions from new grads were, is it okay to leave a company before 1 year? So I'm seeing a few different trends, but historically, I would say it was 2 to 5 years.
Okay, great. And someone else just popped in with a question about social media takeover. You said that's a strategy that you guys use at Intuit, and you use it on your Instagram channel. So this person is having a challenge getting their marketing team to sort of be open to that possibility. So have you ever faced that issue? And maybe before you get started, how have you gotten buy-in in order to create your own university Instagram account where you have maybe more control over the strategy for that account?
Yeah, so we actually have a talent marketing team that partnered with my team on that. And so we did have the buy-in, but what we do at Intuit is we actually send surveys to anyone we meet on campus or our candidates. And at the end, there is a list of platforms, and we ask how often they're on these platforms. And that's how we're able to see which platforms students are most likely on, especially our target audience. So leading with data is really how we get more buy-in, because numbers don't lie. So if you show that your target audience is on this platform, then you're more likely to get buy-in from those leaders.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so the next channel, let's see here. TikTok,
yes, this is my favorite one. I actually have my own personal TikTok. I started last June, and I've grown to over 12,000 followers. And so for not posting consistently, I think that it's been a pretty great platform to drive traffic, especially for recruiting. TikTok is also now experimenting with TikTok resumes. And so they have reached out to Intuit for a pilot where candidates will actually submit videos with their application, which I'm really excited to pilot that. But if you're unfamiliar with TikTok, it is a video streaming platform, and it's very short clips. So initially it was just 15-second clips. Now, depending on your account, you can go up to 3 minutes. But as you may have realized, Gen Z has a shorter attention span. So the videos that are about 9 to 15 seconds, which is very, very quick, are the ones that tend to perform better. But this is an opportunity just to be creative, show your personality. 1 to 2 videos a week, I think, is very doable if it's only 15 seconds of your time, but it's an opportunity to show who you are, who your company is, less informal. As you know, Gen Z likes the raw footage. You could also repurpose content from TikTok back to the Instagram. And as people are starting their internships or new grads, you can come up with a hashtag and people can start showing their day in the life or what it's been like getting onboarded or whatnot. You can also pay TikTok for challenges. So you could brand your company and do a specific challenge. And educational content has seemed to go a very long way, and that's what I focus on. So just make sure you're bringing some sort of value. And some brands to check out are the Washington Post, Chipotle, NBA, and We Are Cisco. And I'm not sure if you were able to see the video on the left, but that was a very fun video, I believe, from
The Washington
the
Post.
Washington Post, yes.
Yep. So Gabby, you mentioned challenges and you explained that a little bit, but just give, for people who are new to this platform, tell us again about what the challenge is. It's
so I can give an
idea, or do you ask TikTok to come up with the idea?
Oh, I see. That would be your marketing team, but you could pay TikTok to promote your challenge. So we, around the Super Bowl time, when we were heavily promoting Intuit as a brand, had a dance challenge. So TikTok, initially, you found a lot of dancers in entertainment and comedy, and now TikTok is really pushing for more of the educational content, and they don't just want to be like a dance platform. And that's where I think companies can come in as they're still branding. That's a great opportunity, but this is just an ability to make a more personal connection. It feels that you are talking to the person on the other screen, instead of maybe looking at a slide or whatnot.
Yep. So you challenge people to do something and you try to connect with an audience and grow an audience who participate in this challenge. So they record a video that's in the same theme.
Yes. And I've also seen people say, I'm looking for an intern, duet this video, and people have submit their applications there. I've also seen on career pages, people saying, show your resume, I'll duet it and I'll critique it. And then people are also learning from there. So you can come up with different challenges depending on if you're hiring or if you're just trying to brand.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So someone asked, what kind of videos do you post? But I think you gave some good examples of those. So hopefully that answered your question, Liza, and gave you some inspiration for using TikTok. So why don't we move to the third sort of top pick channel to reach Gen Z? And we included LinkedIn. Maybe you guys weren't thinking that we would include LinkedIn, but Ben thought this was an important channel. So Ben, why don't you share with us why we should still think about LinkedIn even to reach Gen Z?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, more about the type of content and what you're posting versus like the actual platform. And, Gen Z still sees LinkedIn as, the professional networking platform, just like everybody else. And so this is more just about like how to use LinkedIn better to drive, engagement awareness. Gabby kind of hit on it earlier with like repurposing your content from TikTok and Instagram. You can do the same thing here. So you're creating, one or two things and just using it across platforms. I think the big couple things to highlight here are showcase pages. Does Intuit have one of these, Gabby, for your university recruiting?
We have a like Intuit Careers LinkedIn page. I think there's like a tab for university, but not as Intuit universities. Separate.
Yeah. So these companies on the right, if you guys want to look at some point on LinkedIn, at Salesforce or NVIDIA, they have, specific, it's basically a sub page of your main company's page. Companies can create as many as they want for different, initiatives or business units that they have at their company. But a lot of them have been using it specifically for like an online community for Gen Z and early career talent, just kind of a destination to send people to that's a little bit more engaging than your, typical career site, and also making it a little bit easier for them to actually find the content that they're looking for instead of having to sift through, all of your career content or all of your just general company content. This is, specific to this audience, and it makes it just that experience a little bit better for them. Yeah, you can see, I guess this is a ad from Dick's talking about just kind of their intern class that they hired, just a text video, but still kind of bright and like engaging. Good example of a type of piece of content that you can create. And then I also wanted to highlight, and this is not really specific to LinkedIn, this is more just general to social media, and kind of like the thought process behind the content that you're creating. All of these platforms are built on top of algorithms that, decide what to show in the newsfeed and what to not. And so, basically, I won't get like super nerdy here, but basically the way it works is you make a post, it'll go to, 10% of your followers. Depending on the engagement rates that they have with that, they'll show it to the next 10%, and then so on and so forth. And that's basically how you go viral on social media. And so doing things on LinkedIn, like breaking up your posts into, easier to read sentences rather than paragraphs, or putting URLs in the comments instead of in the actual post. Those are just kind of examples of like small things you can do that make it just inherently more engaging, that drive, likes, comments, and shares, which are the way that the algorithm is looking for engagement. And like I said, that's, across the board. I think TikTok is honestly the easiest platform to go viral on. But that's basically how it works. And so just keeping that in the back of your mind while you're creating this content will kind of help you just, create a more engaging experience for everybody who's kind of looking at it.
And Ben, do you see the difference in the kind of content that Gen Zers are expecting to see on LinkedIn different from Instagram and sure for TikTok?
Yeah.
Like, because we have this, we of course, LinkedIn is a professional network. And so if they're using LinkedIn, they're thinking about connecting with recruiters. They're thinking about presenting themselves as a potential candidate. And that is probably happening in a different way than when they use other platforms.
Yeah. Are you saying like what types of posts on LinkedIn tend to do better, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. The way that I kind of think about it is, well, one, LinkedIn, I think written posts is really the only platform where written posts still outperform like audio and video, although video is still, probably the most engaging. And then podcasts are huge with this audience. So audio clips are great too. But it really comes down to just like the type of content that you or your marketing team is most comfortable creating. So if you're comfortable on video, you can make a really good video and that's going to be engaging. But if you're not, maybe you should start, creating more written posts or things that are just, something that you're comfortable creating is always going to be better. And I think a good example is like there's podcasts that are 3 hours long that people sit through and listen to the whole thing, or, there's 1,000-page books that people read the whole thing. So it really comes down to just like, is the content actually good and helpful? And real, because that's what these people are looking for.
Okay. Great.
And then email, again, another platform that you wouldn't think is like specific to Gen Z, and obviously it's not, but I thought email would be important to talk about because it's the easiest thing for all of us to do. We all have email, we're all already using it. And I think the first couple platforms we talked about were more kind of like top of funnel awareness and interest, and just trying to drive, potential applicants to your jobs. I think email is more mid to bottom funnel of once somebody already applies, how are you gonna, deliver an engaging experience and, continue to build your brand, because brand is not just what's, public facing. A lot of it is word of mouth and what type of experience is a candidate having with your company, and are they going to talk about it positively or negatively, with their friends and family. And so the way that I like to think about email is, if I applied to 10 different companies, 9 of them are going to send me, the same kind of basic emails that you would expect of like, hey, thanks for applying. Maybe here's some info about the interview process or our company or whatever it might be. But there's going to be one company that sends me, selfie videos of somebody in the, marketing department because I applied to a marketing job, or maybe a clip from a podcast that's giving me, helpful interview tips and tricks. And obviously I'm going to be more drawn to that one company and not the other 9. And I'm going to talk about that with my friends and family, and, they're going to be excited about it as well. And so, that was a long-winded way of saying we're all using email, and there's just things we can be doing inside of it that create a more engaging experience for this audience, which at the end of the day is what they're all looking for.
Yeah. Great. And also I know, Ben, you, in the work that you guys do working with employers on how to create engaging content for Gen Z, you have some specific experience around using email after an event, a virtual event. So I know there's a resource that you have, which is the 4-step nurture track for Gen Z talent. And I think it would be great maybe after the webinar, when we send the emails next week with the recording and with the slides, for you to also follow up with everyone in the audience and share that resource. I think that could be really helpful to folks.
Yeah, for sure. Would be happy to. Okay,
great. I love a good email nurture track. All right, so that that information was awesome. So, now that we have talked through these 4 top picks for platforms, let's dig into the content and what type of content and messaging resonates. Because Ben was saying, what's going to make someone stop scrolling? Gabby was talking about, what gets someone's attention through these when there's a lot of content being created by employers. So Ben, I know you guys at Scholars have some original research on this. I thought that would be good to start with, and then we can see some specific content examples and give some inspiration to the community. So why don't we start first with the research that you guys conducted?
Yeah, for sure. So this comes from survey with like close to 20,000 college students. So I won't read you the line items. You can do that yourself. But I think this just kind of like reiterates what we've been talking about so far. The second bullet point, they're looking for more casual, conversational, authentic conversations, whether that's like a virtual event that you're hosting in the fall or spring, or even if it's just through TikToks like Gabby's doing on her page. And I think that something that we kind of showed with the Instagram day in the life, it's sort of a subtle thing, but having it be a day in the life of someone who's, within a few years of their age is just gonna grab, someone's attention more than if it was your, senior level VP of marketing walking through their day in the life. Me as a 21-year-old who's graduating, I'm just not gonna care as much about that. That's not gonna be my day in the life at your company. And so, making sure that it's people who are close in age to them, maybe they're a current intern or a new grad hire, that's going to drive a lot of engagement. And then, like we touched on a minute ago, podcasts are huge, I think, with Gen Z and also just people in general right now. I mean, it's just the most efficient way to learn new things, whether you're, working out or driving or grocery shopping or whatever, you can always listen to a podcast. And so those are doing really well right now. So maybe either, starting your own podcast at your company, or, trying to more actively be guests on, podcasts that this audience is listening to.
And then the last bullet point, about 56% say they're interested in learning who works at the company as much as what the company does, is just speaking to a trend that I think is only going to be increasing, which is, people want to hear from the employees at the company. We call it employee generated content, but if we push ourselves to go one step further, it means that our employees need to become content creators. And I know, Gabby, you have a lot of folks in your recruiting team who are content creators. And that's probably one of the reasons why, as a team, you're so successful and effective at really connecting with this audience. I don't know if you have a few tips just to share on the thought in general about how do you get your employees to become content creators, not just ask them to, be interviewed for a video or for a blog post, but to enable them to create the content themselves and share it themselves.
Yeah, I feel like since we are in the pandemic space and we've been virtual, students are missing that in-person connection from employers. And so actually leveraging social media through these videos or these audio apps feels like another touch point with the candidates, but also it just gives the opportunity for the candidates to see who you are, if they resonate with you, learn from you, and if they feel like they're building a relationship with you, even if you're not specifically on the phone with them or whatnot, because they are connecting with you over time on these platforms.
Yeah, it's just like us watching anybody else on video, on TV. Like, we feel like we know them, right? We don't know them at all, but we feel like we know them. And for certain employers, like, that's a kind of, I think that's the kind of connection that as a brand, they probably want to create, not only with their customers, but of course with their talent. And before we go to the next slide, we've had a couple of questions. So if it's okay, just to add, Ben, so you mentioned people in your research, in the survey and the polling that you've done, that Gen Z want to see day in the life from people who are within 5 years. But if they're also interested in career progression opportunities, are they also interested in seeing, someone who's maybe mid-level in their career or a manager, or they just don't care about that at all?
I think it depends on kind of where they're at in the funnel. Like, if you're just trying to drive like awareness and interest, they're going to be more drawn to the people who are, currently holding the position that they might be applying to. I think, once they're hired and, in your internship program, I would say that's a better time to start sharing that content, because it can, you can leverage that to get them more excited about, taking a full-time job and then, staying down the road. But it really just depends on kind of the stage that the candidate is currently in, I would say.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And then Gabby, there's a question for you. So this person has had a real challenge getting their marketing team to do podcasts because they were concerned that they couldn't control the quality. So she's asking, is it better to just produce something that is authentic and lower quality than not produce anything at all? What is your thought on that?
So that my answer is yes, to just start producing content, because every page that I follow, when I look at the very first videos, and if you do look at my account, you can look at my very first videos, it was very scrappy. You end up getting the hang of it. And as you start building viewers and rapport, then you can get more buy-in, because you're like, people are actually resonating with this, and get more higher quality stuff. But my answer is just do it.
Great. I love it. I hope everyone feels that way. So speaking of Gabby, as a content creator with 12,000, I think you said 12,000 TikTok followers. Mm-hmm. So if someone's going to walk away from this webinar and they're going to say, okay, I'm a recruiter or I'm a recruitment marketer, and I'm going to create a TikTok account and I'm going to start to try to build an audience with Gen Z, what are your top tips?
Yes. So on the slides, you can see different topics that I've posted. And I think the key on these platforms is to post what Gen Z wants to see, not what you think is you should be posting. And you can figure this out a few ways. So you can look at other companies' pages and see which videos of theirs are getting more views. That's resonating with Gen Z. You once you do post a video, I'm sure there's candidates asking questions. I'm sure another candidate has that same question. You can reply to that comment with another video. And if you see one video doing well, make a whole series of it. My videos that perform well, I end up doing multiple videos of that. But it's really just being true to who you are, who your company is, being genuine, and not trying to sell the audience based on something. Like, my platform is solely to educate and bring value. And so whatever they're asking in the questions, whichever videos have more views, that's what they want to see. And that's the content I'll tend to produce.
And I don't think we have it here, but tell everybody what your how to follow you on TikTok.
Oh, Career Confident.
Awesome.
So I can type it in the chat for you.
Okay, good. Hopefully you'll get a boost in some followers from the Rally community. You guys are really trying to connect with Gen Z through TikTok. Follow Gabby. You're going to learn a ton from her. And then the next one is Clubhouse. I just feel like everyone's talking about Clubhouse right now. Tell us, how is Intuit using Clubhouse?
Yes. So we just started this winter using Clubhouse. If you're unfamiliar with the app, it is invite only right now, but it's on both iOS and Android. They are in beta, but it's basically an audio app. If you think of like radio meets TED Talks, it had so many different topics on there. I've been able to just grow my recruiting network globally between other recruiters, hiring managers, VPs that are on there. But on this page, you can see I have a university recruiting club, so people can host rooms, and there's a list of topics. But basically, what the webinars you do with candidates online, you can do on Clubhouse. They just wouldn't be able to see you through a video. But we've had career fairs where I'm on stage with recruiters and other hiring managers from companies around the world, and we are sharing what opportunities we have. And then the members from the audience come up to the stage and give us their elevator pitch and tell us which companies they're interested in. From there, they connect with us on LinkedIn and we get them in the recruiting process. So I've hired 2 co-ops this winter from there, which is really late in the game because we're typically wrapped up with recruiting by winter. And I've also been able to send diverse candidates to my Europe counterparts. I've also been able to send candidates to my pro counterparts. So I've also met a VP of finance who had a phone screen with Intuit. So career fairs, job search strategies, interview prep, whatever you do on campus, you can definitely leverage on the platform.
Awesome. Okay, so get an invite and get on Clubhouse and just start.
Oh, yes. I actually, with this University Recruiting Club, I have 50 extra invites. I just got them. So send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram if you want to get a Clubhouse invite. I do only have 50. I see there's 200 something people on the call. So first come, first serve.
That's great. All right. So we want to do a couple more before we wrap up. And one is just about video job posts. So why don't you share with us how you guys are using that in recruiting?
Yes. So on the left, you'll see our Emily, the recruiter. She had a role she was trying to fill. So basically, she's asking, do you like the tech industry? Do you have these skills? Really, it's about the applicant. So what do you have? And then she's like, oh, if you have that, then you should consider Intuit. And then she on Instagram has a swipe up feature for people to apply, or she'll link the application in her bio. But this is just a short clip to boost applications and get our job in front of multiple people. But the short videos, it wasn't more than 15 seconds, as you could see, are easy for people to scroll through, and gets really fun.
They are fun. Oh, and the last one is around, or second to last one, I think, is around podcasts. And Ben, this is something that Scholars, I think, really owns this space in terms of building an audience that attracts job seekers, interns looking for their next opportunity with your own podcast called the Internship Show. So tell us a little bit more about this and just using podcasts as a strategy in general.
Yeah, for sure. So we started this probably, I think, last April at the beginning of COVID, really just as a way. We knew that people couldn't travel to career fairs last year and still probably aren't. And so we wanted to provide information to students that they wanted to know that would help them kind of land their dream jobs and internships. So we started basically just by bringing on people like Gabby to talk about, their programs and just sort of insider tips and tricks that students could do throughout the application interview process that would help them kind of get their foot in the door a little bit more. And so we've done that with like over, I think, 120 companies now so far. And, they leverage that in their kind of email campaigns that we talked about, or on social media or things like that. Really just as another kind of engaging thing to send to students and something that's really helpful. And we've had one company, like over 150 applicants talked about it in an interview with them. Like, this is what I learned on the podcast. Like, tell me more about that, and so on. And so that's how we got started. And then now, it's kind of moved into, we're actually speaking with the students who have landed these roles. Just again, kind of after we did that research and learned that people really wanted to hear from their peers, we started interviewing how to land an internship at Amex. That's with a, upcoming summer 2021 Amex intern. And then from time to time, I'll get on there, or Parker, my co-founder, and do things like classes that all college students should take. And just like Gabby said, paying attention to what they're actually searching for, what they want to know, and then trying to be responsive and answering the questions that they have.
Yep. And I know you also feature you work with employers. Employers come on and they will bring people from their internship programs, or hiring managers who can engage with your audience and talk through with those career advice tips, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've done some fun series with different companies. I think PwC has done 4 episodes with us, kind of like a general, here's what the company's all about. They brought on 2 current interns. They brought on their head of diversity and inclusion for an episode. And then I think we have 1 more coming up to just kind of give the holistic picture so that our audience kind of understands a little bit more about what they do.
Okay, great. I'm cracking up a little bit because somebody from our community put a comment in the chat that she thinks she's aging out of her profession. And I know you, and we've done a webinar together, and you are at the top of your profession, so you're definitely not aging out. But I think this all probably does feel intimidating to some folks, right? Because we're talking about a new way to recruit. How do you attract and recruit the next generation of job seekers? And this is one of the reasons, frankly, why employers are working with Scholars. When I first got involved in this space, there was a lot of discussion around the Muse as a platform for how do you reach millennials. And I think in some ways, Scholars and the Scholars team is really carving out some expertise for you guys on how to connect with Gen Z. So I'm so glad that you're here sharing what you know with our community. So let's look at the last couple of slides. Just one last point maybe about recruiters as content creators. This was an example, Ben, that you shared, I think, on your LinkedIn that you had seen from someone that posted this. Why did you pick this and wanted to share this with us?
So this is Micah. He's a recruiter at Nelnet. I just think it's another example of something, similar to what Gabby's doing on TikTok, of just sharing purely, helpful educational content that students are thinking about, and really with no intention of, trying to get something out of them. I think that's truly how you build a brand. And this is, they got 1,500 views. It's getting Micah a lot of visibility, which in turn is getting Nelnet a lot of visibility, and doing this kind of consistently over time is going to drive a lot of applicants for them. I think the hardest part about content in general is just doing it consistently and knowing that, it's not, one post is not going to change the game for you. It's really committing to being, involved, getting all of your, hopefully your entire company or as many people as possible involved, and just doing it over time really makes a huge difference for driving awareness and then eventually kind of applications, which is the end goal. So
yeah, this is great. Maybe too, when you send your follow-up email with the nurture track, maybe we could include a link to this post so people can see this as an example. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So wrapping it up, Gabby, give us your top pro tips.
Yes, get buy-in from leadership. So I touched on how to get the data before, but as you do run tests on personal accounts or your corporate account, you can collect even more analytics. So through TikTok, it shows you the demographics. You can see how many females versus males are viewing your videos. You can see their watch time. You can see where in the world is reviewing your content as well. All of that data can help pitch to your leadership team as why this is used and why this is successful. Also, like the TikTok, Instagrams of the world release their demographics, so you can see a majority of the users on TikTok. That's Gen Z is the biggest age demographic on TikTok. Testing new platforms, like I mentioned, there is the Clubhouse of the world. There's now lots of new features through Instagram. There's now YouTube Shorts, which is basically the short video version similar to TikTok, but now on the YouTube platform. So find one platform, see what you resonate with, what you're comfortable doing. I know this might be new and seem a little out of your comfort zone, but the more that you get in front of the camera, the more comfortable you'll be. But also there are accounts where they don't even show their face. They have other employees posting and they're just running the content on the back end. There's also accounts that just show like pictures and videos and do voice text over it, so no one knows who's running the account behind it. But yeah, try a variety of content, see what works, and then monitor the engagements, and then you can pivot that way. I think the analytics will really help you drive us to where your target audience is and what type of content you should be pushing out. But if you don't start, you don't know.
Yeah. Yes. Awesome. And it's like any other marketing strategy that you're trying. It's like just test, optimize, right? All right. And Ben, give us your top pro tips.
Empower your employees to be influencers. We've talked a lot about that today, but really digging into that stat of like 50 whatever percent of Gen Z wants to work with people just as much as they want to work at the company. They're going to be drawn to your employees, and you need to showcase who they are, and they're the best lens into kind of what your company is all about. So definitely encourage you to do that. I think the second one, keeping your website and social up to date, seems like very practical, but it's something I see a lot of companies struggle with, especially with using a bunch of different sourcing platforms and having pages on all these different websites, your content can get outdated pretty quick. And if the information that's online isn't correct, eventually that's going to lead to a pretty poor experience for your candidates. So try to make sure everything is as updated as possible. And then similar to Gabby's, track everything you do. Don't guess and don't post what you think is right. Try to be as unbiased as possible and listen to the numbers and the engagement and, pivot if you have to. But those are my 3.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you guys. This was really fantastic. And thanks everyone for so much engagement. If you have a question, put it in now. We won't have time to answer it here, but we're going to do a wrap up blog post, and I can reach out to Ben and Gabby and ask them to answer any additional questions that come through. You can always email me your question as well, or post it to the Rally Recruitment Marketing Facebook group. And we'll be sure to, get you guys connected with Ben and Gabby and make sure that they can answer whatever questions you have. There's one other resource which we worked on over the last couple of months, which is really focused in on the content that you need to attract and engage Gen Z talent. And Ben and the Scholars team, we collaborated with them on this piece of content. And we also feature Gabby and all the great work that she and the Intuit recruiting team are doing, along with several other employers. So if you haven't grabbed this yet, you can download it from rallyrecruitmentmarketing.com and go to the resources page, and you can find this idea book. So with that, I just want to thank you again, Gabby and Ben, for sharing all of your expertise with us. It was fantastic. I'm really glad that you guys were here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. This is great.
And awesome. And thanks to everyone. Be sure to connect with Ben and with Gabby on LinkedIn and to follow them on their social channels, and reach out if you have any more questions. Okay. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.